This story begins in the deserts of Mongolia, the largest desert in East Asia. A company had come here to extract oil, but their information turned out to be wrong. There was no oil. Now, everyone is returning. A plane has been sent to take them back, piloted by a man named Frank along with his co-pilot. Both of them are tasked with flying all the employees and cargo to Beijing. Everyone boards the plane, and they take off toward Beijing. But soon, a massive sandstorm begins in the desert. The co-pilot asks what they should do. Frank replies that if they turn back, they'll have to wait for refueling, and they don't have enough fuel for another takeoff. So, they must continue forward. Frank flies the plane higher to escape the storm, but the aircraft is overloaded. They get caught in the storm and try to contact the base through radio, but there's no response. Because of the sand, one of their engines fails. Frank announces he'll have to make an emergency landing. However, visibility is almost zero, and as the plane descends, its tail hits a rock, causing the rear door to open. One passenger falls out and dies instantly. The plane slides across the desert before finally stopping. When it does, they discover 2 more passengers are dead. They can't go outside yet because of the storm. When it finally stops, they see that the plane is buried under the sand. A few hours later, the wind clears the sand, and the plane becomes visible again. They go outside, check their supplies, and realize they only have enough food and water for 1 month. One man says he'll walk out of the desert. They estimate it's a 200-mile journey to the nearest civilization, but they don't know their exact location, and the radio is still dead. The man claims he's done marathons and hiking and can make it. But they warn him, it's July, the hottest month in the desert. Even if he drinks 1 glass of water, he'll sweat out 10. He decides to travel only at night, but they tell him that's useless since the magnetic mountains make compasses unreliable. He'll just end up walking in circles. Realizing this, he gives up the idea. That night, when everyone is asleep, a man named Davis goes outside to use the toilet. His foot hits a rock, and he slips down a slope. In the storm, he can't see anything and gets lost. Though he shouts for help, no one can hear him. The next morning, the group discovers he's missing. They search for him but never find him. He's buried under the sand. A woman from the group goes to Frank and asks what the chances are of someone rescuing them. Frank says, only 5%. But they can't leave. They're in the middle of the desert, with limited food and water. If they start walking, they'll run out within 2 days and die. Though the chances of rescue are slim, Frank says he prefers to wait. Days pass, and people begin to lose hope. 2 men decide to leave, taking water with them. Frank stops them, saying no one will take the water. A fight breaks out, and the water spills. Then, a man named Elliot comes up with an idea. He believes they can rebuild the damaged plane into a smaller one. Frank asks what Elliot knows about planes. Elliot replies that he used to design them. In fact, no one knew much about him since he wasn't part of the oil company team. He had just been with them for a couple of years. Everyone is surprised but hopeful. They agree to rebuild the plane, though Frank disagrees at first, thinking it's impossible. Later, after hearing a teammate's words about hope, Frank changes his mind and joins them. They start working only at night to avoid the heat. But one night, sparks from welding ignite the fuel they had stored for the generator, causing a huge explosion. Thankfully, no one dies, but most of their fuel is lost. Now, they can only use the remaining fuel to fly out, so they must work during the scorching daytime. They keep going despite the heat. When the final wing must be attached, it's a dangerous job. If it falls, they can't lift it again. As they lift it, the chain snaps, and the wing slides down, crashing into the plane. Miraculously, it lands in the exact position needed, and the structure is completed. The group rejoices, naming the plane Phoenix, after the mythical bird that rises from its ashes. But trouble strikes again. An electrical storm hits. Lightning begins striking around their plane, and since the wings are filled with fuel, it's dangerous. Everyone runs for safety except Elliot, who refuses to leave the plane. Just before lightning hits, Frank tackles him away, saving his life. They continue working, but water is running out. One night, they spot smugglers camping in the distance, illegal arms dealers using the desert as a trade route. Frank insists they ask them for water, though Elliot disagrees. Frank and another man go to approach them, hiding behind rocks. When they ask for help, one smuggler shoots one of their men. Frank and his companion return fire, killing most of the smugglers. One escapes, But Frank doesn't shoot him, saying he's not a killer. Among the dead smugglers, James finds his friend's watch, proof that these are the same smugglers who killed their teammate earlier. They capture the wounded smuggler and bring him back. Some want to kill him, but Frank refuses. In anger, Elliot shoots the smuggler himself. This sparks a heated argument between him and Frank. Elliot blames Frank for everything, for crashing, for deaths, for failed decisions. Frank punches him, and Elliot storms off, refusing to finish the plane. A woman named Kelly convinces him to continue, saying they can't finish without him. Elliot agrees, but only after everyone, including Frank, apologizes. Finally, they all resume work. Through binoculars, they later see the escaped smuggler returning with reinforcements. But the smugglers stay back, knowing the survivors have guns. They plan to wait until the group weakens from thirst and hunger before attacking. The survivors work faster than ever and finish the plane. Then, Frank finds a magazine showing model airplanes, the same designs Elliot used. They realize Elliot used to build toy planes, not real ones. Everyone gets angry, especially Ian, who points a gun at him, calling him a fraud. Elliot insists the plane will fly. The principles of balance are the same. Frank stops Ian from shooting. Suddenly, a strong desert wind lifts the plane slightly off the ground, proving it can fly. Hope returns, but the storm buries it in sand again. After the storm, they dig it out, determined to try. They start the engine. It fails at first, but after several attempts, the Phoenix roars to life. Hearing the noise, the smugglers charge toward them on horses, firing guns. Everyone clings to the plane's wings as it begins to move. Bullets miss them, and as the runway ends, the smugglers think they've crashed, but the Phoenix soars off a cliff into the sky. They've made it. After weeks of struggle, they finally escape the deadly desert. In the ending montage, we see everyone back home with their families, living happily. Frank and his co-pilot start their own airline, naming it Phoenix Airlines. Elliot's photo appears in a magazine with the headline, NASA's New Hope. And that's how this movie ends. Tell me in the comments which movie story you'd like to hear next. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe for more amazing stories.